All right, welcome along to the RTÉ Soccer Podcast. Raf Diallo here, and joined today by Conan Byrne and Keith Treacy. We're going to be talking League of Ireland, the clubs in Europe, and much more. But we're going to start on the Women's World Cup and the aftermath following Ireland's draw with Nigeria on Monday, with the girls in green already eliminated from the last 16 contention after the defeat to Canada last week. And in the aftermath, Conan, I mean, there's a lot of focus on, Katie McCabe and Vera Pauw and what's been said or not said or tweeted, etc. But I suppose first off, your thoughts on the Nigeria game, Ireland's campaign as a whole, but then also what we've seen afterwards in regards to what Vera Pauw has said in press conference, and also what Katie McCabe tweeted with the emoji with the sort of zip over the mouth.
I suppose we'll come to that shortly, Raf. But just in terms of the competition itself, it was always going to be the group of death, in my opinion, with the teams that we were coming up against. Australia being co-hosts, playing them first as well in front of 75,000 people. It was always going to be a difficult game, but I thought the girls handled it really, really well. And it was only just that penalty incident where Marissa Shiva just pushed the girl in the back and Rasso, and unfortunately Steph Catley stepped up and put one into the top corner, which was a fantastic penalty. And that was the difference between ourselves and Australia. We did have a couple of chances towards the end, but obviously with Katie and then Louise Quinn getting on the end of a header into the box, but that went wide. So that kind of put us on the back foot then heading into Canada. But at the same time, it was a brilliant start. Obviously with Katie scoring direct from a corner. And it was just the timing, like the France game in the warm up games, just conceding just before halftime. We've done it a few times, and Vera has mentioned that to her players as well, about the concession of those goals at crucial moments of the game, and it just proved costly. And then obviously Canada, with their experience in bringing on players that have 300 plus caps at halftime, the likes of Christine Sinclair, Zadorsky as well, which is a fantastic player in the middle of the pitch, and Schmidt as well. So these players are high quality, high caliber, with plenty of experience, and I think that was a difference in the game. The impact of the substitutions between Canada and Ireland. We brought on Abby Larkin, but Ashley Lawrence was very, very good against her and doubled up as well. So Abby Larkin couldn't get the space that she got in the Australia game. And then obviously with the concession of the two goals, they were poor goals to concede. From an Ireland point of view, that was disappointing. But ultimately, again, we just didn't have the firepower up front to get back into the game, in my opinion. And that's been the story of the World Cup. We scored from a set piece, obviously. Like you might say, it was a fantastic goal, but look, you don't aim to do these things. You do mean to put it in on top of the keeper, and if it goes in, great. But it's not your intention. And then heading into the Nigeria game again, you're just expecting a performance, and I think that's what we got. I think we played really, really well against a really tough Nigerian team that have beaten Australia and obviously drew at Canada as well. So they're a really top side, and Oshuala came back into the team. Obviously scored the crucial goal in the 3-2 win over Australia. But we kept her relatively quiet throughout, and I thought it was a really, really good defensive display. I thought Ruisha Littlejohn in the middle of the pitch was absolutely superb, like she was for the whole tournament. She was my player of the tournament for Ireland. And and it was a great point, our first point on the board, a clean sheet as well, which was great. And like I said, we don't have the firepower to score 2-3 goals in the World Cup. I think that's something that we need to look at for future major tournaments, to try and, I don't know, push the girls up the pitch a little bit more. But having said that, it's very difficult when you're up against the likes of Oshuala, Kanu as well. You don't want to put too many players forward, and obviously then the fallout happens, and the girls don't get the credit they deserve for that performance because of the fallout with Vera and Katie.
Yeah, and we might just talk about the situation on the sideline. So Keith, 70th minute or so, Ireland at this stage haven't made any substitutions, and there weren't any subs made until about 83, 84 minutes. And what happens is Katie McCabe is looking for fresh legs, especially on her side of the pitch. And she makes her point to Vera Pauw, and Vera Pauw ultimately is the manager. She makes the decisions. This has all been discussed in press conferences and kind of more cryptically in a tweet or an X or whatever we're supposed to call these things now by Katie McCabe afterwards. But the thing of a player going to a manager during a match and asking for changes, how common is that? Like during your career, is that something that's actually sort of essentially something you'd see quite regularly?
Yeah, I have seen it quite regularly, but I haven't done it. I haven't seen it done in that kind of a way, the way Katie McCabe was doing it, where she's on the pitch and she's noticeably throwing her hands in the air and having a verbal back and forth with Vera Pauw, which is, the manager picks the team. It's as simple as that. I've been in games where I thought the instructions I've been sent out were probably not working at the time, and when there's a throw in or a break in play, I will wander over to the manager and have a word in their ear and just see what they think, and I'll bounce off them, and either they'll say, "Okay, Keith, go with what you think," or "No, listen, I'm happy with what you're doing," and it's usually behind closed doors. So I think Katie McCabe just needs to realise that whatever she thinks, whatever her opinion on the game is, that Vera Pauw is outside the game, and it's a lot easier to critique a game from the outside because you can see the whole pitch. Katie McCabe is worried about her players. She's worried about Farrelly on the other side as well. So Katie McCabe is getting bogged down with an awful lot of things, and maybe she feels we can go and win this game against Nigeria. But to be fair, I thought we played well. The one criticism I throw at us in the game is that there was maybe too many sideways and backwards passes. But like Conan says, you start opening up against these bigger nations, and I know Nigeria are behind us in the rankings, but Vera Pauw said they're basically a top 10 team as well, a very, very capable team. So you start opening up against these bigger teams, and they will cut you off. They have the class up front in the top areas to do that. So I'm sure it's just a little bit of frustration from Katie. It happens all the time. And I think Vera Pauw was brilliant that, yes, she can give her opinion, but she doesn't make the rules. And I do, the amount of things that's coming out in the paper now about Vera getting a new contract or not getting a new contract, maybe a couple of the senior players there's a bit of tension between them. From the outside looking in, I think Vera Pauw is doing a great job. I know it's a little bit conservative. People are texting me all the time saying we need to get the handbrake off in these games. It's not that simple. You can't do it. We're spending so much of the games nullifying what the other teams can do, and we're doing it so well. And like Conan says, we're not going to score 3 and 4 goals a game. We might get one. If we're lucky, we'll get 2. So we need to rely on clean sheets or getting the other teams down to a minimum of 1 goal. So if look at, we have to, all our best traits are defending. And I think it's great, but I just think Katie McCabe just needs to be a little bit calmer in those situations and just go over and have a word in her ear. And remember that there has to be an element of respect there because there is people watching, and you can't do that because ultimately I've had it in the championship with Darren Ferguson, and one of the centre halves had a pop at him and he just took him off straight away. I believe the words Darren Ferguson shouted at him and the centre half shouted back, "Simmer down," to the manager, and 2 seconds later he was off. So it wasn't so much of a tactical battle, but it was just an answering back, and I'm the boss. And thankfully, Vera didn't seem to want to make an example of Katie by taking her off or anything like that. It doesn't seem to have gone that far down the road, but there's only one winner at the end of the day, and it will be the manager.
I just think it's ironic in a way because I was just watching the game and I thought Katie herself was flagging in the last 10-15 minutes just due to the fact of the amount of running that she was doing. And she nearly had a type of free roll when we had the ball because she drifted forward and went into the 10, ended up on the right wing at times. So I think that she was running on empty herself in the last 15-20 minutes. And I think maybe that's why she just wanted that fresh bit of legs in front of her to cover her in the sense of with the runs she's gone through. But I think Vera's honesty in all this is what's kind of what we've seen. She's spoken before about how honest she is in press conferences, and maybe that could be a negative. But at the same time, she was asked a question by the journalist, and she answered it in the way that it was on the pitch, and how she felt. Because at the end of the day, if you see a player on the pitch, signaling the way that Katie was, like Keith said, it was very, very demanding. Is the word I probably would have used. But there has to be that level of respect, and like Keith said, you just have to go over to the manager when there's a break in play. It's down her side, so that's going to be happening often. There was a lot of throw-ins that she could have easily just went over and whispered in her ear, "Look, I think we need something, fresh legs." But I actually agree with Vera. I think Sinead Farrelly, the player that, well, the supposed player that Katie was asking to be replaced, I thought she was really, really good. Like, she got her foot in the ball, she got us up the pitch. Her technique allowed us to get her out of small and tight spaces. And I think the most disrespectful thing out of it all was the zip emoji. Afterwards, like, surely by that stage you've calmed down and you've kind of reflected on what you've done. but like it's as if like she's been silenced, and at the same time, you're Ireland captain. You've had a wonderful tournament. You're having a wonderful career. You've just got your first point in a World Cup. Obviously, the disappointment and the winner that she wants to win the game and have the 3 points. But at the same time, I just think that you need that little bit of. There's a difference between being a captain and overstepping your mark, and I think yesterday she may have done that.
Yeah, and at the same time, obviously they're both winners who, as you said, Katie McCabe's a winner playing at the highest level. Vera Pauw's had plenty of success in the past, including bringing us to a World Cup. And again, maybe it's just a disagreement over the methods, but with the next fixture for this Ireland team, of course, will be in front of at the Aviva Stadium, in front of hopefully a full crowd, and in the Nations League, and a historic moment. Whether Vera Pauw's on the touchline or not, we don't know at this stage, Conan. So what's your sense at the moment? Because there has been silence from the FAI now for quite a while during this tournament. Obviously, during the tournament, it's probably not the time to be addressing contractual issues, but it's left a lot of uncertainty, which maybe has played a part in some of these sort of tensions bubbling over. But what's your sense about Pauw and whether, she stays on?
I took a lot out of Denise O'Sullivan's tweet after the tournament, actually, where she mentioned the word distraction. And I think that's what has happened with the players. There has been distraction due to the fact that pre-World Cup, it was talked about. It should have been sorted then, or if not, it should have been relayed to Vera in a way that, look, we're just going to move our separate ways or go our separate ways. Vera, being the professional and winner that she is, she's obviously going to want to go and give Ireland the best that she can possibly be for future managerial appointments that she will get. But at the same time, it's just disappointing the way it has gone through right to the end now, and the fallout from it, rather than the magnificent performances that Ireland have shown in their first ever World Cup. I think that's the disappointing thing about it. The papers today should all be about that, but they're not. It's all about Vera and Katie and Vera's contractual situation. I think Jonathan Hill said that he'd speak to journalists during the World Cup. That didn't happen. He put that on the back burner. It looks ominous for her, I have to say. It really does, because you either want her and you'd sort it out before the World Cup, like she asked. Press conference yesterday, before the Nigeria game, where she asked, the question was asked, do you think that it should have been sorted before now? And she said yes. There was that awkward silence afterwards for a couple of seconds as well. So yeah, it's disappointing, especially it's so important that you get to the Euros in Switzerland in 2025. That's the next big aim for this team. And with the Northern Ireland game coming up in the Aviva Stadium, and the following games then against Albania and Hungary, you're wanting to progress and to continue this journey that they've been on, and allow the fans to follow this and to keep it going and to push it on. And it's just, it's just very different from what it should be. And I think that's the disappointing thing about it.
Yeah, anyway, in regards to the World Cup, you can listen to more on our daily podcasts. And of course, we had one yesterday with RT Sports' Anthony Pine, where we sort of talked through these things, particularly the Vera Pauw and Katie McCabe situation in the immediate aftermath of it as well. So we're going to turn our attentions now to the Irish sides in Europe, and I think we'll start on the good news story, which is Derry City beating Coops 2-1 at the Ryan McBride Brandywell Stadium last Thursday in the second qualifying round of the Europa Conference League, and a couple of second half goals, Keith. And the only regret maybe after a good win and what was a good performance is they didn't actually win by more, because the chances were there.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the game, Raf. I thought Derry played well in parts. Brian Maher made some big saves as well. I think it was maybe only 2 saves, but there were 2 big saves. Had the ball hit the back of the net at only one of those occasions, and I think Derry would have been really up against it. But the first 45 minutes, it was a really slow start. It took Derry a little bit of time to get into the game. They went 1-0 down, but reacted really, really well. I know they hit the post twice in the first half, but they were sort of looping headers, balls dropping out of the sky. They weren't gilt-edged chances. But the second 45 was much better from Derry. They were at it. Their press was at it, and I did, when I finished watching the game, I thought, I think it was Adam O'Reilly went through in the last couple of minutes. He's one-on-one, a lovely little move on the edge of the box, a little 1-2 when he's through. Keeper makes a save, and you're thinking that could be a big, big difference going to Finland, 3-1 up as opposed to 2-1 up. But look, I think Derry have seen Cooks now. Cooks are not a bad team. They're decent. They will move the ball. But what they did well was they attacked quickly with pace in the wings. And look, Derry, for the most part, were able to deal with it. But yeah, they can't afford another 45 minutes with that slow start. As long as if they start with the intensity that they start in the second half, Derry will be absolutely fine in that tie. But anything short of 9 out of 10s from everybody, then Cooks will come back into the game. But I have a lot of hope that Derry can get that one done now in the second leg, especially with the second leg being in Finland. It will be a little bit nervous, but I think Derry have enough just to get over the line in that.
Yeah, Conan, I mean, the approach is going to be interesting in the second leg, of course, with just the narrow lead. But Rory Higgins, in the build up to it, spoke to the Derry Journal, and he said, we won't go there and defend our 18-yard box because I don't think we're capable of doing that. It's not us. We'll go there and play with an energy and intensity that we showed particularly in the second half, and go there and try to be positive, which is more or less what Keith is saying there. I mean, when you look at the squad that Derry have, and Higgins has been very honest there about maybe their incapability to just like sit in and dig in and play that sort of game. How do you think they will approach it? I mean, and how should they approach it, given you've experience of playing in these kind of away ties in Europe?
Yeah, you're going to have to be cautious. Coups are a good side. They're top of the Finnish league. Albeit the clubs in Finland haven't had a good European run of it, they're still top of the league. They've only conceded 11 goals in their domestic campaign so far this season out of 18 games. So they're they're a good side, and it'll be a magnificent win. And I know Rory compared it to Gothenburg over 20 years ago, where they managed to get through that tie. And it would be similar enough to that. But I think the important thing, Raf, is the return of big players, Patrick McElhenney, Mark Connolly as well, Michael Duffy, Will Patching. Like Derry went a good few games this season without those players, and people were saying, "Oh, yeah, they're not a great side. They're not as good as what they thought." But their best players weren't playing. Now they're all back. They've got a magnificent run. The confidence should be high. You do have to be cautious in the opening 30, 35 minutes of the game, and you don't want to concede because they can just like Dundalk the other night. They conceded two quick fire goals just before half time, so it can happen. And the way these European teams can counterattack is frightening. We're not used to it. So you do need to be compact. A bit similar to the Ireland women's team, if I'm being honest. Just have that low block, allow the pressure come on, because you have those players, the likes of Brandon Cabin and Michael Duffy, Patrick McElhenney, and the pace of McGonigal up front as well to cause some problems. So I think I think they're in a very, very good position. So I'm optimistic about them.
Yeah, whereas as you say, Derry look like they have a shot at going through. I think we can probably safely write off Shamrock Rovers' chances, Keith. I mean, 4-0 defeat to Ferencváros, the Hungarian champions, in their first leg, and now they have to go away from home. And again, it's probably not unexpected though, given it's the exact same result, same location as in the Europa League playoff round last season. There's a huge gap between the likes of Ferencváros and Shamrock Rovers, with all due respect.
Yeah, there is, and we all know Ferencváros. We all know them from last year when they turned over Rovers as well. And for long periods of that game, Rovers just couldn't get the ball off Ferencváros. They were really, really good. I think they 28% of the ball, Shamrock Rovers, which is alien to them. They're not used to that happening to them, especially not in the League of Ireland. So look, they're very, very dangerous players up the top of the park. Varga, Tiore, Marquinhos, very, very good, very quick, very direct. The penetration they get in behind is really, really good. But I don't think it's a big surprise, Raf, to be honest with you. I think when you look at how Shamrock Rovers have performed in the league, I know they're top of the league. I'm well aware of that, but they haven't reached the heights that we expected them. I think Graham Burke, his goals return has been okay. Some of his performances have been up and down. Jack Byrne been injured, been in, been out. Rory Gaffney's been decent, been bad. Farouche is a big miss on the wing as well. So I think there's a lot of mixes to the cocktail here, but what we're getting is Shamrock Rovers are making the same mistakes in the league, and they've just carried that through to Europe now. Whereas they wouldn't necessarily get punished in the league for the little mistakes they make. at this level you get punished almost every time. And French Guevara's just shown they have the talent. And look, to go to Rovers and have over 70% of the ball in each half, restrict Shamrock Rovers to one shot on target in each 45 minutes of the half. They're very, very good defensively, very, very good on the ball, devastating in attack. They really are. So, look, Shamrock Rovers are 4-0 down going into the second leg. I don't think any of the Shamrock Rovers players will be relishing it. Look, I think Stephen Bradley can say one thing is, listen, let's go out there and try and win the game of football. Don't worry about going through in the tie. I think that's miracle stuff. But just try and win the game of football. If it's a 1-0 win, a 2-1 win, whatever it is, just go and win the game of football and just don't lose it. Try and come back with some sort of some pride in the game. Just have some pride and dig in, because we don't want our champions being turned over. We like to think the league is getting better. Personally, I've watched a lot of games so far this season. I do feel the league is getting better on the whole, but in Europe, we're just coming undone. Where we seem to play the same way. We're talking about Derry going to Finland and maybe doing a full court press. I don't think Shamrock Rovers can do that. I think Shamrock Rovers need to drop back. I mean, I've seen Sean Hall going into midfield and pressing people and getting bopped, and then all of a sudden they're playing balls down to the channel and Rovers are running towards their own goal. They're in big, big trouble. So I'm not sure how Shamrock Rovers would play it. I'm not. If I was Stephen Bradley, I'd be terrified to do a full court press, because you get it wrong once and all of a sudden you're 5-0 down in the tie and it's looking like a real battering. French Guevara's had a very good team, but they're not the sort of team that you'd be quaking in your boots going out to play against as a Shamrock Rovers player. So I think if Shamrock Rovers can go and get, like I say, raise the level a little bit, get a bit of pride in their performance, keep the ball a lot better than they did, defend better, and don't be as sloppy, then maybe they can win the game. They're not going to go through in the tie, but maybe they can win the game. And look, French Guevara are very, very good. I can't stress that enough, but Shamrock Rovers have been poor, and they brought that poor league form into Europe with them.
Yeah, and the dynamic of the goalkeepers, Conan, is kind of interesting as well. Alan Manus came back. He's been out injured for quite a while, made an error in the game, and Leon Poles, who's been who's been essentially the stand-in now for the last number of weeks, was benched. What's your thoughts on the goalkeeping situation there, I suppose, in the longer term? Because obviously Manus has been brilliant for them in their successful run, but obviously age is always a factor there as well.
I think we've heard numerous times from various sources that Stephen Bradley's just waiting for the opportunity to sign a keeper long term, to kind of dismantle Manus. I don't think that's Paul's. I think he's a very, very good backup keeper to Manus, but I don't feel that he'd be the quality of Shamrock Rovers number one. Manus obviously made a mistake for the goal the other day. It was a terrible mistake from his standards. So I just think, it's priority number one, I'd say, at Shamrock Rovers is to get a long-term goalkeeper. But like, who could that be that Stephen Bradley wants to bring in? There's been talk that he's been looking for the last 2 to 3 years on a goalkeeper that could first of all compete with Manus and then obviously overtake him as the number one. But I don't think it's the area that is, especially this season, in terms of what's worrying for Shamrock Rovers. I think they brought in Liam Burt from Bohemians. That hasn't worked out well at all. He only started his first game. Like, imagine starting your first game against Ferencváros away from home since the President's Cup final. Wasn't great. But it's just disappointing. Like, funny enough about the game, the three Ferencváros beat them obviously 4-0 last year, and it was 4-0 this year. The first 3 goals from last year were scored at the exact same time as the 3 goals this year. And it's just not learning lessons. And we've talked about that before with teams in Europe. And like Keith said, it's all about pride now. They beat Ferencváros in the return leg. Obviously, Andy Lyon scored with a couple of minutes to go from a great header from a corner. And that's what it's all about. And maybe giving the likes of Naz Raji the opportunity to get more game time. He's the first player that's gone from the nursery setup at Shamrock Rovers right all the way through to the first team, which is great for him, great to see, great for the club, great for League of Ireland that we have players that are able to do that now. So it is all about pride, but at the same time, you have to look back on their performances in Europe and domestically, and feel as if they do win this league title, that it wasn't done on performances. It would be done but through experience, grit, and maybe just that little bit of quality. But the performances have been have a lot to be desired.
Yeah, and the other team that was in action in the second qualifying round of the Conference League was Dundalk, who were beaten 3-1 by KA, and Daniel Kelly's goal, Keith. That's about the only thing that gives them a small glimmer in this of potentially going through, but it's not looking particularly likely either.
Yeah, it's not looking right here, that just because it's 3-1. But I have to be honest, I fancy Dundalk in the second leg, bringing KA back home to Dundalk. And look, KA are a very good team. They counter attack really, really well. Dundalk had the lion's share of the ball, 64% possession. So that just goes to tell you, when KA get it, they counter attack really, really well. And if you look at the highlights in the game, you'll see that. But I just have a feeling the tie is not over. I think if Dundalk can keep the ball a little bit better, they obviously need to be a lot better in transition. When they lose it, they need to have people, when they're building up the play, just trying to smell the bit of danger and think, where do I need to be in case we lose the ball here? Just somebody to be mopping up constantly all the time, and always thinking, what if. And look, I thought Dundalk played okay in the first leg. I think KA look, a very, very good team. They can hit the back of the net, but it's just that little bit in transition. Like I say, Dundalk keeping the ball, turning the screw, but when they lost it, KA just went straight for the throat and were able to hit the back of the net. So transition is going to be a big, big thing here. So whether Dundalk go a little bit more from A to B, from front to back, a lot quicker, and maybe don't have so much build-up play, so they can't get caught in the press or get caught in the turnover. I'm not too sure, but I think Dundalk and Stephen O'Donnell will be looking at this thinking this tie isn't over. If they can score in the first half, there's every chance Dundalk can pull us off. And I have a sneaky feeling they will do it. But like you say, it's on paper, it's probably not looking likely yet, but there's something in me just thinking that Dundalk will go through on that.
Yeah, okay. And in the Premier Division, Sligo Rovers and St. Pat's will be live on RT2 and RT Player on Friday from 7:35 p.m. So that's there to look forward to. But the results last Friday, so Bows beat UCD 2-0. Jonathan Afolabi continuing his good form with a brace one from the spot. Shelburne were 2-0 winners away at Cork City, and then Drogheda United and Sligo Rovers in a repeat of the FAI Cup first round game, although with a different result. 2-2 draw there. Now, Conan, starting with Bows, they had to be patient because the goals came quite late on against UCD, but Afolabi, can't stop scoring. That's what now 7 goals in 6 games, and then also Danny Grant making a bit of an impact as well with winning the penalty, which put them in front.
Yeah, absolutely, and great to see Danny Grant back at the club. Raf, it was a long time coming. Didn't do too well over in England and at the various clubs that he was with in terms of loan deals and all. But he's come back, and because he's so loved at Bohemians, he's going to hit the ground running. And that's exactly what happened. I know there was debate over the penalty where he went down where he went down for the penalty, but at the same time, I didn't see any UCD players complain about it. And that's the first thing I look at. I look at the opposition players to see the reaction from them, and there was nothing. So and Afolabi took it really, really well. And like you say, 7 goals in 6 games now. And it's exactly what you want from your number 9. And it's exactly the type of player that he is. He just needed that little bit of confidence and to score goals. And it's exactly what he's done. And he's just his strength, his power, his hold up play. And now that he's added goals to that, Bohemians, I'll be honest, they're gonna find it hard to keep a hold of him come the end of the season, because you're looking now at Max Maddow down in Sligo scoring a few goals, and obviously Shrewsbury Town, according to Neil O'Riordan, have come in for him. And if you're going to be looking at the likes of Max Maddow, you're going to be looking at Jonathan Afolabi. And yeah, so it's going to be very interesting to see how they get on. But yeah, they've done Bows. They weren't doing too great. They went through a little bit of a patch there around April, May. But they've rediscovered some form. I think the likes of those players coming in, the likes of Danny Grant, Afolabi scoring goals, getting through, beating Shelburne in the FAI Cup was big in terms of confidence. Again, beating Dundalk 3-2 as well. That was a big result at Dalymount Park. So yeah, they're doing okay. I still don't think they'll finish 4th, if I'm being completely honest. But at the same time, fantastic season so far. Declan Devine's doing really, really well. Has a good group of players there. I was talking about leadership last year in the Bohemians dressing room. They've got it back in terms of Keith Buckley and other players like Van McDonald as well. So yeah, things are looking up, and then hopefully then they can hold on to Afalabi and then push on next year.
Yeah, and then meanwhile at Shelbourne, Harry Wood, who's one of those arrivals from Hull City, in his case on loan, looking lively against Cork City, and then also I think the goal that Sean Boyd scored as well was brilliant, Keith.
Yeah, both goals were really good, Raf. I do like the look of Wood coming in. It's always hard to tell with lads who don't have much first team experience in England when they're coming over, because you don't have much footage of them. But yeah, Wood looks really, really good. Looks like a decent signing. But I think what Shelbourne are doing, I said it before, they play five at the back. You know exactly what you're going to get. It's rigid. It's horrible. You don't really want to play against them. But when you look at it, it's brilliant. There's very, very few errors. They recover really well. They all work, really, really hard for each other. They're a proper team. And when you think this is their second season in the Premier League, I know I keep going back to a FAI Cup final last season. Look at on 38 points, Sligo on 40 points behind them. If anything, Shelbourne are sitting in sixth and they're looking ahead to the likes of Dundalk. Bows are catching them. They're not looking over their shoulders. They're 8 points clear to seventh place. So I think, again, Shelbourne are doing really, really well. Going down to Cork, I know it was going to be an emotional night for Cork, obviously, after what happened to Keaton's family. It was always going to be really, really difficult. But Shelbourne went down there and they played well. They won the game well. And it was a really professional performance. And the more I see the Shelbourne team, the more I like them. They have little bits of stardust with Wood coming in, Sean Boyd, Jack Moylan, really, really good players. But the work rate it never falters. You know exactly what you're going to get. And I'm sure Damien Duff's turning up on a Friday evening when he knows what team he's putting out there. He knows he's getting 100% from every lad. And that's a great luxury to have as a coach, to know that every lad is going to work as hard as they possibly can, because 9 times out of 10, if your team does that, you'll get something out of the game. And that's what Shelbourne are getting. And like I say, not exactly pretty, not beautiful to watch. They don't concede a lot of goals, don't score a lot of goals, but yeah, I'm really enjoying what Shelbourne are doing.
Yeah, and from the Cork City point of view, Liam Buckley, he was talking about Cork needing to dig in more, and he said it was a poor performance again. We never got going. Every aspect of it was poor, to be honest. That said, we have 11 games to go. We obviously are going to have to play better than that if we are going to avoid the bottom two. But what's also interesting about them, Conan, is something reported by Paul O'Hare in the Mirror, which was in and around they're no longer going to put release clauses into contracts. And, the reaction to that generally is there's maybe a risk in terms of recruitment, because there's certain players who might want a release clause put in, but at the same time, in terms of safeguarding the club, in the longer term, getting fees back, it's an important step. And I wonder how many other clubs would be looking at potentially doing the same, or just looking at what Cork have done and seeing if there's potential to follow on.
I'd love to see this across the board, Raf. And in terms of the Premier Clubs Alliance as well, I'd like to see it being discussed. Because it's something that doesn't sit right with me at all. In terms of clubs and even grassroots clubs, putting time and effort into young players, then obviously going into League of Ireland level, doing really, really well, getting international recognition, signing professional contracts, and then putting clauses in to get them moves abroad when they turn 18. Maybe obviously they can't move until 18 with Brexit now. So yeah, I'm delighted that this has been put in by Cork City. I'd like to see it done at every other club. We're losing too much talent for very little reward. And it's something that, as I said, it needs to happen across the board, because we've seen historically we've been like this. Even with Seamus Coleman back in 2006, I think it was, when he left for Everton for €50,000. Like, it's extremely frustrating. And there's players in this league that could go for 6 figures, possibly even 7. But because we have these contracts in place, the 1-year contracts and 2-year contracts don't allow those big figures to transfer fees to happen. But it's a step in the right direction for Cork City. And if you're from the area and you want to play League of Ireland football at a national level, well, then you're just going to have to suck it up. And if you're good enough, a club will come in for you and sign you for the appropriate fee.
Yeah, and in the final game of last Friday that we'll talk about, it's of course Drogheda United and Sligo Rovers, which, as I said, was a repeat of the first round of the cup, which Drogheda United won at home. And Keith, it's kind of a tough one, where teams where they've played each other in one competition and they're meeting again within a few days. It's how tough is that generally? Because you've got, I suppose, both teams have had a close look at each other, and I guess look, they meet regularly enough in the league, but when it's that immediate, it's probably kind of challenging regardless of which side has won the first game.
Yeah, it can be challenging. I've had it a couple of times in my career where you have a double header against the same team, but the players don't really bother with it. It's just two games. I know now, obviously, I'm dipping my toe into coaching and managing. So, as a coach and a manager, you're probably trying to overthink things. You think, well, they'll be expecting this. We did this in the first game, so let's try and do this in the second game. And maybe it gets a little bit more muddy in the water because managers and coaches are trying to be a little bit too clever. But yeah, I don't think it's a big deal. I don't think players really mind. If it's a double header against Finn Hearts away, then I'm sure players stand up and take note of stuff like that. But yeah, I think it was a decent game. And look, Sligo, I really like Sligo as a club. I did a bit of training there. I had a lot of time for Johnny Russell, the manager up there. But I don't think it's been good enough. They've lost. I know they drew against Drogheda 2-2, but in terms of the season, they've lost 11 games of football already this season. And look, I know there is better teams in the league than them. I'm not saying they should be fighting for third, second, or fourth, but I still think they should be there or thereabouts, the top half of the league. And at this moment in time, they're more looking over their shoulders than in front of them. So it's not been anywhere near good enough for Sligo. But in terms of Drogheda, they're unbeaten in the last 5 games now, 3 draws, 2 wins. So Drogheda are becoming a little bit harder to beat, which is good for them. They will nick games here and there, and they're finding a bit of backbone now to not get rolled over. I like what Liam Buckley is trying to instill at Cork, just not being rolled over too easily. So, yeah, I think on a whole, maybe Drogheda and Sligo haven't really been good enough this season, but Drogheda are getting better, and still huge question marks over Sligo.
Yeah, from the Drogheda. Yeah, sorry, go on.
Sorry, Raf. I just think Adebayoga's transfer to Norwich as well. That's going to have huge impacts defensively because they've been really, really strong in that area. It gives the opportunity for the likes of Aaron McNally to come in and cement his place in the back three. But I think that the complete, I wrote about it actually for the most recent Irish international game, about how well Drogheda United are doing, considering they're the only part-time team in the Premier League. The likes of Dale Rooney has been doing really, really well. Adam Foley, Gary Deegan has found a new lease of life as well. Dara Markey, the creative spark in the middle of the pitch. And even with the loss of Freddie Draper, they're still managing to score goals, which is crucial for them in their bid for survival. But it's not just that; they actually are really pushing up the league. They're, I think, 6 points ahead of Cork now, maybe more. And it's great for them. And what I was speaking to their former chairman Conor Howie about this. Previously, I was always saying that they're unique in the sense that it gives players that have full-time jobs that are very, very good footballers the opportunity to play at League of Ireland level. So I wouldn't be so quick to go full-time if I was Drogheda, because you're still picking up the likes of Dara Markey, who has a very, very good job, who is not willing to leave his job. But you have him now, and he's doing really, really well. And other players as well, like Conor Keeley as well. I know there's a lot of interest from Scotland in terms of him, whether that happens in December or not. But there's players there that are fantastic players that have jobs, and if they do go back full time, you might lose them.
Yeah, and also interesting when we were talking about players, in terms of situations. So Pats were not in action, Keith, but Owen Doyle has retired now at 35 for personal reasons. And looking at the balance sheet of his time there, 18 goals in 63 games across 18 months. Obviously, he's had a brilliant career. Where does it leave Pats in terms of depth up front now, though?
I think Pats will be okay. I think Conor Carty has really come into his own over the last couple of weeks, played really well in the second leg against Dundalk. Tom Donegan is there as well. There's 1 or 2 others. Jake Mulvaney can probably play through the middle. So for myself, if I was looking at it a little bit selfishly, I'd love to see Doyle stay there just so the likes of the Tom Donegan, Conor Carty can just continue to learn off him. Because Owen Doyle, I played against him in England a few times. He's not the quickest person in the world over 10 yards, but he's just sharp. His movements are sharp. His thought process is quicker than everybody else's. So when you're not as quick as other people, you have to think quicker than other people. And Doyle was brilliant at that. He was a fox in the box. And I just think it was brilliant the way he could hold up the ball. I really enjoyed him watching him play. And look, I remember sitting there, I think it was the start of last season, Pats were playing a pre-season friendly, and I was sitting next to Owen Doyle, and I just having a little bit of a chat with him. So, you're going again next season? He said, yeah, mate, but my body's, I can't quite repeat what he said, but his body wasn't in a great place. He was telling me, and I thought, yeah, fair enough. And, this news doesn't come as a huge surprise to me when I remember what he was saying to me last season. So, look, sometimes you have to get out. Your body tells you signs. It doesn't just break down straight away. Your body will tell you signs when it's time to hang up the boots. And if Dyer feels that now's the time, and I think he feels Pats is in a good place. I think he feels that Conor Carty can lead the line. Tom Lonigan can go and help out as well. So he's not leaving Pats in a bad place. So I think, yeah, if Doyle feels he needs to go, then, yeah, sometimes life comes first, and being able to pick up your kids and roll about with them after your football career is gone means the world to people. So, yeah, look, I think Doyle has been a great servant to the game of football for a long time, and I hope he enjoys his retirement.
Yeah, and in the first division, Athlone Town and Waterford drew 1-1. Galway United pushed slightly further clear again, 3-0 winners over Bray Wanderers. Finn Harps won 2-1 away at Kerry, and then Wexford edged Treaty United 1-0. Then Saturday night, Cove Ramblers were 1-0 winners away at Longford Town. And just a couple of final stories before we go. Conan, just in regards to Jamie McGrath, so his contract at Wigan has ended. Of course, they went down to League One, and prior to change of ownership, a lot of issues there. But the statement the club put out anyway, following advice and guidance from the PFA, Jack Watmuff and Jamie McGrath made the decision to terminate their contracts due to repeated contractual breaches under the previous ownership. And his career has generally thrived when he's gone up to Scotland, and he was with Dundee United last season. I was talking to him towards the end of the campaign as well, and he's obviously a very dedicated player in terms of how he wants to develop his game. But it looks like Hearts are the team that are linked with him. Like, what's your expectation about where he ends up, or where's the best place for him?
I'd love to see Jamie go on the continent, Raf. I think he'd suit the likes of the Belgian league, the Dutch league, Portuguese league really, really well. Just considering the attributes that he has. Very disappointed it didn't work out from at Wigan. Thought it would have. If I'm being completely honest, he had a fantastic spell at St. Mirren. Also, but I just want to see Jamie being happy again playing football, because when he is, he's so good, and we've seen what he's like at international level. He's able to compete with the top players in the world. His strength at holding off players, his awareness, his pass, his passing, his weight of pass, which is probably his best attribute. So I just want him to see him get back enjoying his football. And that's at Hearts, fantastic. We saw Aaron McAniff doing well up there. He got his move to the A League from that. But with Jamie's international experience behind him, you'd like to see him really get involved, starting every week. Because Hearts did well in the SPL last year. And you'd like to see them, especially if Jamie McGrath's on the side, to push the likes of Celtic and Rangers, or get a bit closer to them anyway.
Yeah, and the other transfer as well, Keith, and transfer that has been confirmed. Mark Travers to Stoke City on loan, and that seems to be coming where his opportunities at Bournemouth are dwindling. The signing of the Romania international Ionut Radu, and Neto was already there, had sort of usurped Travers' place, and then of course there's I think Darren Randolph has been the number 3 there as well. But your thoughts on that move for Travers? I mean, I know you've sort of mentioned before the important thing is game time, and it looks like, just looking at the goalkeeper Stoke have, it's a good chance he'll get good opportunities there.
Yeah, that's exactly it, Raf. At that age, I don't think there's any point in sitting around and just hoping that you become the number 1 goalkeeper. You want to get some appearances under your belt. And I have friends who are goalkeepers and number 2 goalkeepers over in England, and I've had conversations with them, and they're talking about, I've been a professional keeper for 12 years, but I haven't played any games, and it's because they're largely number 2 goalkeepers. So sometimes you do just have to get out and play a couple of games. And look, Stoke is a brilliant football club. It's not so long ago. It was back in my day. They were actually in the Premiership with the long throw. So I think as long as Travers goes there and he plays, and it does look like he's going to play, Raf, then it's a good move as long as he plays. So yeah, I think that will get him back into the mix for the Ireland team. But again, you look at the two goalkeepers we have with Kelleher, it just doesn't look like he's going to get into it. But look, we're very, very good goalkeepers. If one of these lads could just be a centre midfielder that could play on the half turn, we'd every chance of becoming a football team. But at the minute, we've three very, very good goalkeepers. And yeah, as long as he plays that, it'll be a great move.
Yeah, and actually, just speaking of Liverpool as well, and Kelleher, I mean, it's quieting down Conan in terms of where, you know, there was rumors at the start of the summer that, you know, he looks like he's definitely going to push for an exit and try and get first team game time. The only exits we've seen so far from Liverpool have generally been the lads who are coming, you know, to a certain age and then decide that Saudi Arabia is the place they want to be now, which they're not the only ones in the game at the moment. Clearly, like there's headlines every week about players going, although it doesn't seem like Mbappe is looking to go that way. I think he wants to maintain his career at a high level. But it's just interesting with Kelleher. It's been sort of quiet on the Western Front in terms of that one.
Yeah, and he started last week as well. I can't see him going anywhere, Raf. And I'm disappointed about that because you want him to see you want him playing regular first team football. No matter, like, he could be with anybody. You know, just because he's with Liverpool and people are saying, "Oh yeah, he's great. He's going to be he should be Ireland's number one." Well, I'd say if Bazunu is playing and Travers is playing, he probably should be Ireland's number three. Because you need players that are playing, especially goalkeepers, in terms of confidence and all those type of things that you need for as a goalkeeper. You need to have regular game time, and he's not having it. And it's different when you're playing under 21s or reserve team football with Liverpool. It doesn't match the likes of playing senior football. And I know you could say, yeah, he's playing with like Salah shooting on him every week, Jota's shooting on him every week, Darwin Núñez, Diaz, all these players you're training with every day. It's not the same, it really isn't. And in order for him to progress his own career, he should have moved in this in the summer, and he didn't. And maybe that was Liverpool's decision. Maybe Kelleher couldn't do anything about it, but in order to progress his own career, he really should have looked for that move, and it did materialise for him.
Yeah, there's still a little bit of time to the deadline, but we'll see if a move does materialise. But as you say, it's doesn't look as likely now as when there was the likes of Brentford being linked and a couple others earlier in the summer, and all of them have started to make moves in terms of goalkeepers. But anyway, that's a discussion for another time. That's it for this week's podcast. We'll be back next week with the RTÉ Soccer Podcast, and of course the World Cup daily podcasts are available also on YouTube and RTÉ.ie and wherever you get your podcasts as well, and also highlights and every game live on RTÉ television and the RTÉ player, and also online as well. But Keith Treacy and Conan Byrne, thanks very much for your time.
Thanks, Raf.
Yeah.